Salam, welcome to a little push, medical mnemonics. Today we're diving into something super high stakes, a condition where you've got to be fast or things can go south really quickly. We're talking about thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura, or TTP for short. And don't worry, I'm going to give you the key to cracking its code before it's too late.
All right, let's get right into it. To really get a feel for how serious this is, I want you to put yourself right in the middle of the action. Picture this. You're in the ER. It's chaotic, the pressure's on, and someone's life is literally in your hands.
So a 33-year-old woman comes in. She's got a history of lupus. You see she has a fever. Her skin looks a little yellow, and she has these tiny little red dots, Pyrexia, on her skin. And then, bam, right in front of you, she starts having a seizure. The clock is ticking, loud. What is going on?
Well, what you're witnessing is a classic and frankly terrifying case of TTP. It is a massive medical emergency. What's happening inside her body is that tiny little clots are forming everywhere, blocking up small blood vessels and just wrecking her organs, her brain, her kidneys. Spotting this and spotting it fast is everything. And lucky for us, there's a tool that helps us do just that. So let's talk about the key to TTP. When your patient is crashing and you've got a million possible diagnoses running through your head, you need a simple way to cut through all that noise and see the real pattern. I mean, how do you take all these different clues, the fever, the seizure, those little bruises, and pull them together into one diagnosis? And do it, like, right now? It's actually way simpler than you might think. You just need to remember 5 letters. LMNOP. Yep, that's it. This isn't just a random chunk of the alphabet, you guys. This is an incredibly powerful mnemonic that can literally help you save someone's life. It stands for the classic pentad, the 5 key signs of TTP. Okay, so let's decode this thing. Let's go through LMNOP, one letter at a time. And as we do, you'll see how our patient's crazy case starts to make perfect sense. First up, L is for low platelet count. The fancy medical term is thrombocytopenia. So what's happening here? Well, in TTP, the body is going crazy, making all these tiny clots, and it's using up all the platelets to do it. Think of it like a factory running out of raw materials. With no platelets left to do their normal job of stopping bleeding, you start to see signs like those petechiae on our patient. Next, M is for, okay, get ready for this one, Microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. I know it's a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Imagine those little red blood cells trying to navigate through blood vessels that are all clogged up with tiny clots. They get ripped apart, basically shredded. This destruction leads to anemia, and all the broken down bits release bilirubin, which is what turned our patient's skin yellow, the jaundice. And check this out, this is what it actually looks like under a microscope. See those torn up, fragmented red blood cells? They look kind of like little helmets. Those are called schistocytes, and when you see them on a blood smear, it's a total smoking gun. It's a huge flashing sign pointing right at TTP. All right, next up is N for neurologic changes. And this is where things get really scary. When those tiny clots clog up the blood vessels in the brain, they cause all sorts of chaos. We're talking confusion, delirium, even a stroke, or, just like in our patient's case, a seizure. This is often the most dramatic symptom you'll see. Then we have O. O is for obsolete renal function. Now, obsolete is kind of a funny word to use, right? It's really just a trick to help you remember the O. What it really means is that the kidneys are in trouble. Just like the brain, the kidneys have tons of tiny blood vessels, and when those clots block them, you get acute kidney injury. And finally, P is for pyrexia. That's just a fancy way of saying fever. And with that, we have the last piece of our 5-part puzzle. Remember, our patient came in with a fever, so that's another box checked. But here's the really, really important part. You almost never see all 5 symptoms at once. That classic pentad, it only shows up in like maybe 40% of patients. So the key takeaway is this. If you see just 3 of the 5, say the low platelets, the anemia, and the neurochanges like our patient had, you have to be thinking about TTP. It needs to shoot to the top of your list. Okay, so we've used LMNOP. We think we know what's going on. Now we have to talk about what to do next. And I need you to listen very closely here, because we're about to cover a critical life or death warning. 80%. Let that sink in. Without treatment, the mortality rate for TTP can be as high as 80%. This is not something you wait and see on. This is an act now or the patient could die kind of emergency.
And here is the single most important rule when you act. I'm serious, if you remember one thing, remember this. Do not give platelets. I know, it feels completely backward, right? Their platelets are low, so your first instinct is to give them more. But trust me, in TTP, that is the absolute worst thing you could possibly do.
And here's why. Giving platelets is literally like pouring gasoline on a fire. The disease is already gobbling up platelets to build these dangerous little clots. If you transfuse more platelets, you're just giving the fire more fuel. You're making the clotting worse, you're accelerating the organ damage, you're making everything worse.
So, if we can't give platelets, what do we do? How do we actually put that fire out? Well, thankfully, there is a very specific life-saving treatment.
The go-to #1 treatment is emergent large volume plasmapheresis. Basically, it's a process where we take out the patient's plasma, which has all the bad stuff causing the problem, and we replace it with fresh, healthy donor plasma. We also hit them with corticosteroids to calm down that out-of-control immune response. This is how you save the patient.
So think about where we started. A chaotic, scary clinical picture. And now, with just 5 simple letters, we not only figured out the diagnosis, but we also know the critical do's and don'ts of treatment. Let's just lock it into our brains one last time. All right, let's run it down. LMNOP. L for low platelets. M for microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. N for neurologic changes. O for obsolete renal function. And P for pyrexia or fever. Remember the rule of 3. If you've got 3 of these, suspect TTP. And what's the big, giant, flashing red light warning? Do not give platelets. Got it?
And that's it. That is how you use LMNOP to crack the code of TTP. It's such a simple tool for a really deadly disease. So what do you want to tackle next? Is there another mnemonic that trips you up or a medical topic you want us to break down? Drop it in the comments below and let us know.